Okay, so we were just chatting about competition, and one of the things that I think we can elaborate on is, competition in relationships, a lot more about competition with yourself, how to get to a point where you accept who you are without continually adding new things to compete with yourself with, a way to find satisfaction in who you actually and truly are. And we could break that down into different parts of life, because you've got people who, for example, they're not happy with their physical body and they go to the gym and they start working out, and they finally reach the goal that they want. And then they realize, I need to do more, or I need to add this, or I need to add that, or take away this and take away that, until you get to a point where you lose your way. You don't know what to do, and you find yourself in a position where it's like, what am I doing, and where am I headed, and what, I started here and I was supposed to end there, but look where I am, and I don't know what to do. So I think, if we can maybe give some tips about that, and then I'd like to also, roll into relationships and sexuality, because a lot of our young audience doesn't understand about that sexual competition that they do. That's harmful to them by the time they complete their journey, and how it feels emotionally, and all the things you store with it, and how difficult it is to recreate. So how about anybody?
Well, when you were mentioning just now, what came to mind was someone I knew who was anorexic. That's a person who ends up, competing to a very unhealthy point. So you're talking about the physical, and, that's never enough, it's never enough. So I didn't mean for that when I was talking about competing with yourself. It's just, you don't want to get to that point. You just want to enjoy the journey. But you do want to set a goal, and then just stop and appreciate the goal. And it's okay to set a new goal, but not to the point where you are destroying your body. The disease you talked about earlier, that's just something that popped into my head. I don't know.
I like that, Judy, because I struggled with that, an eating disorder. So for me, what that was for me, I was creating a distraction because I didn't want to face the truth. So normally, for most folks, if you're using those kinds of things, those competitions, those whatever goals, you can even convince yourself that that's a goal for me. And really, it's not. Just can be a distraction or an attachment to something, and you really don't want to face what you're actually doing and how you're living your life. I would say my observation of myself, my husband, my first circle, and even those around me, it's an opportunity for me to see what the truth is. Not that I'm better and I can say, oh, I know what you need to do, and I'm only going to do it if someone comes to me. If they don't, I really don't care. But the truth of it is, we can spin things, because I've done it myself. We can spin things any way we want. We can spin things in a way to make ourselves even believe that we're doing this to achieve something, or this is who I am. So it's a really challenge. I challenged myself to do this. Let me really figure out who I am. And the young man that I had an opportunity to encounter this weekend, I could just see him doing that with himself. And when you observe someone doing that, or you observe yourself doing that, it's even much more, there's a discomfort, but there's a comfort. And you can watch that individual experience something in a different way. It's like you don't even have to be hard on yourself anymore. You just know that, yes, I'm trying to achieve this or this. But you can, I was probably competitive to the destructive degree. But for me, it's no longer a necessary distraction for me. Mm-hmm. For me, it became a distraction. So for me, I don't have time for that, and I needed to make a decision on what, how I'm going to proceed, knowing exactly who I am in a way that benefits myself, my first circle, and then those that I'm allowed to, or have have an opportunity to share things with.
I like that what you're saying, because
I do too.
you know, if you ask yourself the question, why am I doing it? And I'm going to go out and say, for females, usually they're trying to find a way to nurture
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
So you find a female maybe becoming anorexic or bulimic or have some sort of eating disorder
Yeah.
because they're trying to nurture. So why am I doing this? Is
What
a
is
big
my
question.
lack?
And then when you a male, a lot of men are trying to put muscles on, go to the gym, be this, and they're trying to protect themselves in some sort of way. So, you know, you want to ask yourself, why? Because so chooses the body that it has perfectly. What you want to be sure to do is try to be the healthiest you can be. You don't have to have super duper muscles and super duper tiny waist and extra large boobies or whatever you feel that you need. Are you trying to get attention, somebody else's attention, or are you trying to help understand yourself? So the competition, I think, a healthy self-competition would be, how do I make my body the best that I can be? I mean, you don't have to do rigorous exercise, run 1,000,000 miles and work out crazy. You can just do breathing exercises, movement exercises. There are so many things that work better to make a healthy body, you know, but you've got to get to the point of, what is a healthy body for me? And why am I doing any of this? What's the real importance? You know, there are people who have bodies that appear to be unhealthy and they're comfortable with them. So you want to ask yourself, is this to benefit me so that I can be better in whatever environment I need to be in? You know, if you are trying to do anything to please anyone else, that it never ends, because the audience keeps changing. You really have to get there in front of yourself and say, oh, here's my compact mirror. I kind of like this person. You know, I hear so many people as they age, like, I don't like my gray hairs. I mean, I have to say, I colored my hair for a while, and then I just decided, you know, I'm okay. I actually asked myself, why are you coloring your hair? Well, I like the other color better than this one. That was the truth. But I'm getting used to this, and I'm even trying to wear colors to match it. So, but, you know, you have to just ask yourself, you know, I like my wrinkles. But if I can do something to make them come slower, I'm going to do it. Now, I'm not going to put poison in my body or anything, but I can do some movement exercises and goofy stuff and laugh more. I think laughter helps a lot, you know, and be happy with, you know, the people that I choose to be in my circle, you know. But the point we're making about competing with yourself is to ask yourself why, and have some limits, you know, and not go to an excess of where it harms you. And when you're young, some of the things you do really affect you as you age. So talk to somebody who's a senior and ask them little things, you know, about some of the things that young people do, altering their body, mutilating their body in various ways. You're young and it works, you know, till you get to the other side of midnight. And then it doesn't work.
What is midnight? What is that age, that midnight? I want to know.
50.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's probably true.
Yeah, it's halftime.
50 is midnight.
Halftime. When you
Get
get to halftime.
5-0, man. They were tongue, yeah. So what about with, not that I'm running this podcast, but you had mentioned this before. What about sexual, like the young people sleeping around?
Yeah, go ahead.
or
That's favorite.
yeah. So this was a funny story. So we were talking to somebody, and they were super ticked off about being a booty call. I'm just
Hey,
gonna.
it is. Sometimes that's what it is.
I'm gonna say that. So they're saying, you know, like, I'm not gonna participate in that. I don't want to tolerate that, whatever. So I was like, okay. So what was your first date like? You know, What did you do? What did you allow, or what did you agree to? You know, that's better. You know, what did I agree to do? So they said what they agreed to do, and I was like, okay. And then I said, what about the second date? Because they were on the third. And I'm like, okay. I said, it sounds like you established the booty call. You were the booty call. You said that that's what you wanted, because that was the truth. I mean, that's true. It wasn't really the guy's fault. That's what you were communicating.
And
You're gonna-
guys and girls communicate differently, but
Right.
getting to that sexual part of it,
Yeah.
you want to ask yourself, who am I in competition with? What am I trying to do?
Yeah.
This guy, if it's a female and you're with a guy and you're thinking, oh, he's been with a lot of different women, so I'm going to be the best woman he's ever
Right,
been with.
right,
Well,
right,
if he's
right.
been with a lot of women, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It will, to the guy, and I can speak a little bit about maybe what a guy might think. To the guy, he's in that moment. The rest of the moments don't matter,
Right.
And guys don't sit down and maybe like women do, I sure laid it on him, and I think they do in a totally different way. Where the
Right.
girl is like, I'm gonna wipe every woman he's ever been with out his head, and the guy, you guys come in and help me out with this, because I don't think guys feel that way when they're just being intimate in a competitive. I don't think they feel, maybe they compete that if the girl's in a causal person and talking about what the last guy was like and all that. I don't know. But help me out with this, because I think women have a different idea. And what I'm trying to get young women to hear or see and maybe evaluate in themselves, that you don't want to go and try to be with guys and guys and guys and guys to be the best girl that they've ever had. Because then you'll be the best girl they've ever had. So what can you guys, what kind of guidance can you give to young men and women about competing in a sexual relationship? Because we have a lot of promiscuity right now. And I think that is all competition, trying to compete with each other in some form or another.
I don't think guys think about it that much. I think it's just they think about the moment, they think about that, but I just don't think, and I can only speak for myself and what I've observed with others, they're not comparing themselves to other guys or this. They just know what they want and they're going to get that. And they don't care about anything else. They care about the one, sexual act or being the person or whatever that is. And they don't think as much about the long-term relationship and things like that. It's just is what it is.
And so, one of you ladies speak on women in this situation.
Go ahead, you go first, because I'm going to go crazy with that. I'm going to go crazy.
I think that, the girl should be chased. I thought the guy liked the chase, and, if you give yourself away immediately, what's there to look forward to? I personally think that, if the first date or the second date is you just crawling into bed and having sex, well, what are you learning about each other,
What are you competing for?
What are you competing for? Yeah. I personally never competed to say I would be the best if this guy had more than, one woman. That's not my thinking. So I have a hard time understanding people who think like that. To be
And
truthful.
even in that case, competition could become in the form for men and women, like the person just broke up with somebody and they
Oh
want to
my
compete to
God.
get him.
Yes.
Or it's a married, I see a
I'm
lot
just
of
gonna-
married people, they
I'm
have,
just going to say.
this guy was married and I'm going to be the girl, I'm going to be the one to get him. Or he's been in a long-term relationship,
Well, I'm old
that's
school.
that's a form of competition.
Yeah.
If you're with someone who says that they're divorced or this and that, are you trying to compete with what they had?
Yep.
Just to think about. We don't stop and we don't think about it. Go ahead, Sharon. I see you jumping in your seat.
Oh my God. I think, again, you approach that like as a female, what's your intention of that?
Yeah.
What's your intention? It's always important. Even if your intention is, I would like to be married, I would like to have a relationship, please make sure that you're not just not looking at things of that other person you're in the relationship. Take a beat, take a beat. Like, don't just say, I'm looking at them for that. Let's just let it kind of evolve, the
Don't
relationship.
compete with the last relationship.
Yeah, or even talk about like, well, my old boyfriend was like this. I had a trauma for this, or come on.
Or I'm going to prove to my old boyfriend
I got to
that somebody
prove
else
I'm
loves
better.
me.
Somebody else loves me. Yeah. So you want to just say that you need to be finished with those things before you move to the next thing, because you just, or, just be truthful with why you do want to see this
But
person.
the truth could be, I do want to have I want to sleep with 1,000 girls.
Exactly.
Or 1,000.
Exactly.
Truth
Or I
too,
have been
but-
in this relationship for 30 years. Oh God, I do not want to settle down with someone else or, whatever. The best thing to do is be honest. The guy and the girl, just be honest with your intention and then stick to it. Make a decision.
Have some
And don't
principles.
say, if you don't want to be a booty call girl, like you said, I'm
Unless
old
you do.
school. Unless you do. This is why are you crying about being the booty call?
Yeah.
Why are you crying? I don't have time for your tears. I don't. You shouldn't have time for your tears. Because if you have time for your tears, you are wasting time. Really, you are.
You could
I'm-
use your time
Why-
Yeah,
more
like,
Figuring out
I
who you
better
are.
just get past that. I'm gonna give myself, like she says, 15 minutes. I need like 45, and that's fair. People need a little bit of time. But do you really want, okay, yeah, here's an example. Our sister-in-law said to us one time, she gave advice to someone. I lost my mind when I heard it. She said, I was married for 16 years to her, I don't know. She said it takes 1 year to get as many years as you were with somebody. It takes that time to get over them.
Wow.
I was like, well, if I was, or whatever it
So
was.
another lifetime.
Yeah, whatever. I'm like, well, you might not make it.
Yeah.
Which
Depending
is
on your
true.
age.
That's her formula and it works for
Yeah.
her. You have
But
to
when
see-
you're giving advice to
But
a
if she's
young
asking you-
innocent,
if
to a young innocent, and I had the opportunity, and I just went, oh, okay. And I said,
there's a better way.
no, I said there's a different way.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
there's
different way to
different
maybe
ways.
look at
Yeah,
it.
it's a different way.
In my experience, I was with someone for 8 years. I wouldn't have wanted to waste. I wouldn't have met Dave if I look at it as, wasting years procrastinating. If I waited and I took that formula and I accepted that
That's
as
nuts.
truth, I would have been like 16 years, and I would have been, I don't know. I won't do the math. I'm terrible with that.
Yeah, there is a
In
better
8 years.
way, and
It's yeah.
develop some principle.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
That
what I
way you
said.
don't get to the point of,
Yeah.
but we have to accept some souls want to be victims.
Absolutely.
And if they want to be a victim and they ask you for help, you can point out to them how they're
Yep.
being a victim.
It
you know,
doesn't.
but
It
and
didn't affect
even in
me.
a situation like that, what is the
Yep.
competition there?
Yep.
What is the competition? Why would you not allow yourself to live when the person that is not living with you any longer is really enjoying life?
Well, and it affected the kids, which was really interesting. You could see, she was still competing with her ex-husband. She had moved on to the second husband, and I actually liked him, and I was like, and then those kids get in the middle of all that, and they were young enough to still be exposed to it. Now they're older; they can make their decisions. They're in a place where they can rearrange that, like we talk about in like layered bodies. Like you can take your experience and your causal, and now you have the opportunity. Those guardians provided you with experiences to, you flip it to a positive, and what can I do with those experiences? And now I'm going to create my life without any of those attachments, any of those things. If you want to, it's still a choice.
It's always a choice.
It's
Always.
still a choice.
Yeah,
And I think, seeing that example, it was such an opportunity even for me. I don't think I'm better than her. I just had an opportunity to, if I'm allowed to help one of them, one of them came to us like, okay, we said one thing to them. We didn't even go into details. One thing we said to them about family circles, that you're in your family circle and you can create your life. Like one thing, that was it, and it was.
And that
done.
brings to my attention, a lot of times we compete with the past.
Yeah,
We're
that's a
com-
good.
competing with our past.
That's
And
good.
in relationships, I think we do a lot of that, in the family, we're competing with our past. And you have people in there that are doing the same thing. And the still, no matter what, why am I doing this?
Yeah,
But you can't answer that question if you don't know who you actually are.
I like that.
So getting your principles down And when you feel you're in a competitive situation, it doesn't mean sports or an activity or on the job. In life itself, driving your car, why? Why am I competing and what for? What are the benefits for everybody involved? And I think in relationships, it's good not to jump from one relationship to the next because there's a competition within yourself trying to find something outside of yourself that you need to figure out about yourself. And, go ahead.
And getting back to the sexual relationship, the success in a sexual relationship goes beyond just the self-gratification. You've got to establish the friendship, the trust, and the love so that the sexual relationship can really be enhanced.
And that's for some people. See, every soul is different. Intimacy is so different to me than sexual. But we're looking at a lot of young people, they're very sexual. They don't understand intimacy. And so their goal sexually is to climax and tell somebody about it. And, that if that's what they're competing for, fine. But if they're looking for something else, it could possibly be intimacy. And that's a different competition when it comes to that.
There's a special closeness that comes with intimacy that you don't always get through the sexual act.
Yeah, and
I think it comes down to being honest with your intent to begin with. When it involves two people, you need to be honest with what the intent of that relationship is. And like you said, if you want it to just be physical gratification, you can have both people agree, that's all I want.
Yeah.
But if you're lying and the guy says, all I want is physical gratification, and the girl's saying, well, I'm going to use physical gratification to get what I really want, which is this person to like me and adore me and have a long-term relationship, intimate relationship with me, that's not going to happen.
yeah, it's an incomplete agreement.
Because you're not being truthful about what that agreement is. And then if you keep that relationship going, when the physical part dies down for one of the people, and that's what they base a relationship on, they don't care about the intimacy and anything like that. When that's gone, they're going to go, I don't have this anymore, I'm moving on.
I'm not attracted to
And
any,
the other
I was
person,
not attracted
and the
to
other
anything
person,
but this.
and the other person saying, well, how could you leave me and all this? That's not what that person was there for.
I can find this somewhere else.
So they move on. So it comes about being honest with the intent of that relationship to begin with, because there's no good or bad, it just is. But if you're misaligned with what your intentions are and what your agreement is in that relationship,
And that
then it's
comes
not going
to
to work.
competition in marriage too. When you get into an agreement in marriage, I mean, if it's a closed circle marriage, I will say, because some people have open circle marriages. So, but if it's a closed circle marriage, and you're young, you get into that relationship. Intimacy is the most important thing. A lot of young people want to, the sex is good. But we all know as you grow and change, all of that changes. If somebody gets ill and they can't be intimate, they can't be sexual, you have to be able to love them in a different kind of way. And, that is something that, I find in marriages that people are competing with each other in sexual ways and different ways, silly ways they compete in marriages, but they just need to sit down and become mutual about what is necessary to make it work. And I know for sure in a marriage, you must be unconditional. You need to, everything you do is because you enjoy it or you want to do it. It can't be an obligation or
Expectation.
Or an accountant. I remember one of the comedians said that one time, don't ever be an accountant in your own marriage.
Oh, boy.
And I loved, it was Jerry Seinfeld said it. And I thought, that's a great thing. And I know you guys know what it means. I'll just say it for,
Audience.
being like, he did this for me, she did this for me, and you take a tally and being an accountant and have that balance sheet. And I thought, oh, I love that. I remember him, he was actually an interview because he was being interviewed about his marriage, and he was talking about not being an accountant in your relationship. Like, you do this, I do this, you do this for me, I do this for you. it's and that's conditions, you know,
I
that's
think
conditional.
a good way of not competing in a marriage is to apply that. You know, is
Yep.
to do what you want to do because you want to do it.
Yep.
When you do what you want to do because you want to do it, you don't notice what somebody else isn't doing. You know, and a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, he doesn't do this or she doesn't do that.
Yep.
You know, if you need the help of that person, you have to be able to tell them that you
Yes.
need it.
Yes.
But if it's something that it doesn't matter,
Right.
you do it because you want to do it. You know, I mean, I've been in a marriage for a very, very long time, and there are things that my husband he's not good at. I don't fuss at it. I don't really care. I love him and I do it. And
Yep.
it's so much faster to
Exactly.
do it that way than to even try to mention it.
Yeah.
And I love him unconditionally, so this is who he is, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's the same way with me. But you know, if you try to be an accountant, it's just a competition that's never going to end.
Right.
There can't be any peace or harmony in a relationship like that. You either love because you want to, or don't. You know, and I think that's the way to not have competition in any kind of relationship. You know,
Yeah.
and as we're getting close to the end of this segment, thank you everybody for joining us. I would like to say let's have some last word, but we actually went 5 minutes over our time. So thank you guys, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll see
Thank
you again
you.
soon.